What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Let's get right into it. I've made the actual decision that we're not building the ute anymore. We have picked up another project here, which is this car we're driving right now. Shortly I'll show you what that's all about, but plans have changed. So in the next 2 years we are building up this car to take overseas. First stop Japan, then America. Come along for the journey. Right now I'm going to the car wash, going to give this thing a bit of a wash, talk about our plans. So now, before I get too much into this car, I just want to tell you a little bit of backstory. So after the last video we tore down the AU ute and made some discoveries that moving forward I didn't really want to continue with that vehicle. There was a lot of rust in it, particularly the rear firewall and the chassis had a huge amount of rust. For the plans that we're trying to achieve with the vehicle is probably a little bit out of my reach and expertise to fix all that before it does go international. There's a lot of rules and regulation about rust in vehicles when you're shipping them overseas. So this vehicle here was basically our decision to restart the project and go from there. We're still keeping with the same chassis, not a ute, it's a sedan. The glorious mighty AU Falcon Series 3, and this was advertised in the Australian market as a family sedan, or taxi as most people know about them. They are an inline 6. This one currently has a 4-speed auto, but that, you know, as the same plans as our last video, that will all be getting changed. So let me take a dive into it and I'll show you around. So as you know here, and as you can see, it is a 4-litre AU3. It does have a Fairlane front. I've already done a few things to it. I've put a JZX front bar on it, JZX side skirts. I've put some cheapo wheels that I found on the internet. Nothing too special. Might get a better set later down, but just to make it look a bit snazzy, I've chucked them on it. We have gone with the Fairlane front because, in my opinion, this is the best front end you can put on an AU Falcon. And with the body kit we are changing the rear end, so once I get back to the shed I'll tell you a bit more about that. We can fit a car seat in the back of it, as I'll show you. We've got my daughter's car seat in the back. It's going to be a lot more comfortable for the sort of trip that we're doing. So we're going to be building this car for hopefully in the next couple of years we make it over to Japan. Going to be taking it around all the tracks and street driving. We'll get a carnet and take it over there on Australian Rego. I'll walk everyone through that process when we come to it. But as for this car, let's dive into it. So now that we have the mighty AU in the garage, let's go over what we're going to be doing. So first up, we need to be doing some body work. I'm going to get stuck right into it over the next couple of weeks. So with the body kit and the body work, what we have on the front already is a JZX100 Mark II Origin Lab kit. We've got the bumper, we've got the side skirts, and if you look up the top there, we've got a rear bar as well. But that rear bar does not suit a Falcon, so we're going to have to change up the whole rear end. What we have on the rear end is factory Series 3 rear bar and tail lights and boot. We're going to be taking all that off, cutting the quarter panel basically here, and we're going to be fitting some JZX100 Mark II Series 2 tail lights. This is going to look gangster. I've already mocked them up before and I'll put a photo on the screen of what they're going to look like. With them, I picked them up on Facebook Marketplace. I got some spare centerpieces, but I won't be using them. So it's been a couple of days now, continuing the build of the JZX AU 100 Falcon. What we're going to be doing today is I'm going to be fitting the rear bar to the car, getting it all mounted up, ready to be able to turn that into fiberglass and do the rest of the process with the tail lights and the boot. So what we have going on is the rear end has been completely stripped out, so I've taken the rear bar off, taken the tail lights off and taken the boot out. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be fitting this Toyota JZX100 Mark II boot lid and the bumper and the tail lights all on the back end of this AU. So we'll be chopping all this up and making it all work, but for the minute and trying to figure out what I actually need to cut out, I'm going to mount this rear bar. As you can see, there's no tabs or anything to mount it to the car. I've just been zip tying it on there for the moment. So what I'm going to do is I've got a bit of aluminium angle line I'm just going to cut this off, make a couple of tabs, go 1, maybe 2, maybe 3, or 1 or 2 on each side, and then mount it to the underside of the underside of here. Probably drill a hole and put a bolt through it, and drill a hole here and pull a bolt through it. And then once that's all mounted up, we kind of can figure out where the tail lights are going to go, which will let me know how much I've got to cut out of the quarter panel, and also got to make up brackets for the boot, so the boot actually sits on there and swings up properly, so we can figure out the mounting points of the tail lights. So let's get to this. I'm going to make up some brackets now for this. So now I've got the tabs on, I've got 2 on that side as well. I have just pop riveted them, but I can work that out when I make the molds. They're just temporary anyway, so got them on. Now let's get this bar mounted onto the car so I can then figure out the rest of it. So after a little bit of stuffing around, I've got the boot on there now, and the bumper's sort of mounted. Those little mounting tabs that I made, I'm going to have to come up with probably a little bit better of a design so I can actually bolt it, because I'll show you. So in here, these ones mount pretty well good. I can get that under there, but I'm probably just going to have to take this little bit of fiberglass out and maybe extend it or something to get it to mount under there. But my problem was that this crash bar, I couldn't actually get it further into the vehicle like I need it, so that's why I put the boot on there to try and see where I need it, to see if I need to cut this out, or if I need to cut the bumper, or I need to make up some sort of mounting position. Under here I might just use some like riv nuts and then put some 2 10mm bolts under here. That'll probably work better than how I was doing it with a bit of self-tapper. Another thing that I need to do is, if you look into here, this sits a little bit higher than where I want it. I want that down to be like pretty much almost touching the window. This is the factory forward bracket, and I've just plumbed it into one bolt. There is also another bolt about here somewhere, so I reckon what I'm going to have to do is almost dog leg this down, probably 20mm, which I don't have a welder for, so I'll have to go out and buy a welder. But I'll dog leg that down and extend the bracket out about 100mm, and then it'll be able to bolt to the bottom of the boot. It'll lower this boot a little bit, so if I just dog leg it down there, that height there of this rise in the actual frame of the boot, and then drop it down, this will sit perfect where it needs to be. And then pretty much that will be in line with this body line here. Obviously this won't match up, so I'll have to fill this in, probably either with a bit of metal or just put some expander foam in there. And when I make the over fenders, I just make it to suit the boot. But I figured out that I need to cut this much off the quarter panel because it hits here. So just going with a permanent marker, I'm just going to cut it all off anyway, because I've got to make new fenders anyway. So the more I can cut off, the better. So that runs along the side there, nice and perfect. And then it is the same on this side, so I've marked it where I need to cut it. Coming up here, similar gap, same point, so same thing, right where that mark is. I just need to dog leg this down again and then go about 100mm. That'll bring the boot down to about here where it's perfect, and then this will come down to about here, and then I can sort of fill this quarter panel up a little bit to suit the boot. I'm trying not to change this body panel. I'm trying to keep it as factory as I can, so if I do need to replace that part, it's not too big of a deal to swap it out. I can just find another Mark II boot and chuck it on there.
Same with the rear bar. I don't want to modify that too much. Main reason is where this car goes in the world, these parts are easy enough to find. If I have to do custom work and I'm on the road, well, then it's going to just make it a little bit more difficult. So I think that's it for this video. I'll go out and buy a welder and a few other things, and then we'll get cracking into chopping up this car and getting the panels to fit, and then we're going to make brackets for the tail lights. So if you enjoyed this video, hit that like and subscribe button. Peace out. I'll see you on the next one.